Hello. Sorry about the wrong scene there for a moment. Welcome to a stream about House Divided with myself, Andrew, aka Atropos, Kim from our development team, and who's been owning the work on the big House Divided V14 update, and Narchy, of course, our famed and fabled cartographer who is responsible for much of the map work in House Divided and elsewhere. We are thrilled to be here and to be hanging out with you all this afternoon to talk about and to showcase some really cool things we've been up to with House Divided, one of our really amazing first-party adventures that we've made. I think many of you probably already know about House Divided, but if you don't, it is a gripping tale of drama and familial intrigue for D&D 5th edition that is set in a sort of gothic horror setting of this manor called Raventree Estate that is unique because it is divided in triplicate across 3 different realms of existence. And so we'll talk a little bit more about the story. There will be some spoilers involved in this, so if you are a player thinking about playing House Divided, you may want to skip this particular stream and suggest your game master watch it instead. We're not going to get too deep on like big revelations though, so I think the worst sort of spoilers would be kind of entry level, so to speak. I think. But yeah, it's a really exciting adventure that probably would cover a party advancing from level 5 to around level 9, maybe level 10, and that would probably cover, I don't know, Kim, what do you think, 20 to 30 sessions of gameplay? Something in that?
Yeah, I think it took my group like 38 or something.
Yeah, a thorough
So,
group might really get
yeah.
almost a year's worth of weekly sessions out of this. I think a less thorough group would probably be about half a year. It's kind of a short campaign, but it's long enough that you really get a strong attachment to the story and the characters. I think the characters are probably the piece that we're most proud of with this adventure, but also some of the gameplay conceits that we'll talk about in terms of the interwoven storylines and the way that the exploration of the environment works. So anyways, I'm going to mostly turn over the reins of this stream to Kim, who is going to be our MC for the day, and I'm here just to be along for the ride and to, maybe share some insights and help run the stream. But Kim's going to take lead on showcasing what we've been up to and talking a little bit more about House Divided, and then Narchy is of course here as well because one of the things we're going to want to talk about a lot is how the power of version 14 and scene levels has challenged the way we're doing the cartography and doing the setup for the scene. And so, yeah, without further ado, I'll pass it over to Kim and take us away.
Okay, sure. Yeah. So what we're doing today is a brief run through of one of the optional quests in the Shadewood Manor. So in terms of spoilers, that quest will be spoiled, but only one of the possible resolutions for the quest, and it's an optional one, so it's not like main part of the main narrative. We will pause occasionally to talk about some behind the scenes work that went into the module, how the maps were made and adjusted for V14, some of the design decisions behind the quests. So we're aiming for like a sort of developer commentary style, if you've ever seen those when you play through a game with developer commentary. So feel free to drop questions in the chat as well, and we'll try to answer those. We actually also have Nath in chat moderating, and he also did some of the writing, I think, so he might be able to answer your questions as well. I just put him
Yeah,
right on the
absolutely.
spot
And
there.
and for those of you in chat, if you can, I mean, I think probably this will be a low-key enough stream that we won't miss them, but just in case, if you have a question, if you can preface it with like question in all caps or something like that makes it obvious that you're asking something so that we can hopefully get to whatever you're asking us about. I'll try and help keep an eye on chat, Kim, and pull out questions for you as you otherwise narrate our journey.
Okay, well, to start the developer commentary, do you have any like behind the scenes you can give us on the origin of the module, like why we decided to even do this in the first place? Because I think this was our first module, first party module.
Not quite the
Any of the
first one, because we did
challenges?
Demon Queen
Oh, we
Awakens
did Demon
before
Queen.
this,
Yeah,
but
yeah. We did Demon Queen.
yeah, I think both House Divided and Demon Queen Awakens just sprung out of we as a team spend so much of our time building the VTT and playing games and loving like existing in this framework and in this environment. We sometimes want to flex our own creative muscles and use our expertise with Foundry VTT and use our love of storytelling and collaborative role play and different game systems to make something that's a game experience. And so House Divided happened originally because I got an idea in my head for the premise of the adventure that I became quite taken with, and it sort of sent a campaign that I was running at the time off on a little bit of a tangent, or a lot of a tangent. But I became so kind of fixated on the idea of like, oh, this would be a great adventure. It kind of caused the campaign I was running to take a sharp left turn, and at the same time, these ideas were getting fleshed out, and I was working on the maps and thinking about the story seeds, and then I started bringing in some help from others on the team. So Narchy got involved on the cartography front at some point, and Roman got involved, and Shane Anathema got involved on the writing side. And we sort of all started dividing and conquering. We got artwork from Leah, Bleeding Sun. You can find her work on Twitter and ArtStation and elsewhere. She's super talented. And Josh Sarver did the character portraits. Devin Knight did tokens for us. So we have music from Music D20 and tabletop RPG music, great friends of Foundry. So we involved some different creators to come in and help us like assemble the different pieces we would want in order to have like a more complete adventure. But and of course they're all in the credits. But yeah, we did a lot of things in making this, and it was something that we had a lot of inspiration from different ideas, different media that we really liked, different sources of inspiration for how this came together. But definitely it is a tale of kind of gothic horror inspired by tales of malicious fae and terrible diabolic pacts and the damnable choices that a powerful mage might make in the pursuit of their own longevity or in the determination to manifest a certain future for their family, and sort of the stupid and foolish things that might happen as a result of that when you have a bunch of kind of magically empowered characters, as protagonists in D&D certainly are, but non-player characters in D&D also quite powerful. You have these powerful characters with their own unique personal agendas and motivations and grudges and agendas, and then you put them all in a realm that they cannot escape, and they are locked in through the power of cataclysmic magic in this sort of forever state. Sort of the drama that would unfold in that environment when then a new set of player characters are introduced who can, after a long time of stasis, be a sort of catalyst for change to this environment. And so that just came to be a really interesting and compelling and satisfying stage for storytelling and stage for role play, about how the player characters are, have huge agency here to like come in and break, either double down on this curse or break the curse, or figure out who to side with and who to help, whose agendas to further and who to betray, all the while, having people, cast of characters on all sides, pushing them or expecting them to do certain things, and then the players have to choose and have to chart their own course. And of course it all leads up to a very climactic finale with I think a memorable final boss and a memorable final boss fight that has a big payoff at the end. And so I could talk probably at length. I'll just need to shut up at some point. But really proud of this adventure and how fun it is to play, how fun it was to make. I think it's a really exceptional product, especially in the way that it's built for VTT and the way that it plays in a very non-linear way. That it is very much kind of a choose your own adventure style. Constrained sandbox, I would say, because you are very locked into these three realms. Like, you can't just go anywhere. It's not an open world game, but it is definitely a game of kind of that lends itself towards emergent solutions and unexpected choices that the players might make. And we try and empower the game master to be prepared for those sorts of things by just making it really clear for them to understand who the characters are, what they want, how they would respond to different things, what they care about, and then, of course, just the fundamental nature of the place, because the GM has to embody both the setting and the non-player characters. And so we just try and give the game master all of the power to both understand the setting, the metaphysics, the rules, the way that the three realms operate, plus the characters that live there. And so, yeah, I'm rambling, but really proud of House Divided. I think it's a super good adventure. It's quite different than Demon Queen. That's more of a boss gauntlet. It's quite different than Ember, which is a massive open world exploration sandbox. And all three of those products are different in scope as well. But I think House Divided sits in a really nice middle ground in terms of length and complexity, but also depth and richness. And I just really encourage any of you who haven't checked it out to do so, because I think it's one of the best adventures that exist. I mean, I think that sounds a little bit like maybe not very humble, but I think it's probably one of the best D&D adventures out there.
It's super polished, and I really liked how self-contained it was as well. You can kind of drop it in anywhere. Yeah, it's we had a lot of fun. Had a lot of fun playing this one. It's very memorable. You've seen some of the art that my players drew of it. It had a big impression on them. So we'll move on. We have some questions already in chat. I will maybe try to just cover them very, very briefly, because otherwise we're at zero introduction at the moment. We still have a bit more to go.
It's my fault. You let me talk, Kim, and then this is what happens.
No. Shouldn't have asked him. Like, tell us about House Divided. It's like, well, here we go.
Yeah. No, it's all good. All good. Do we plan on making more adventures like this outside of Ember? I feel like we're gonna probably yes, but Ember is gonna take up a lot of time.
Yeah, I think what I'd love to see us do is, make some adventures in the future that are House Divided in size. I think Ember was a massive monolith of ambition and foolishness and, immense commitment to a sort of insane scope. And that's not something that I think we should do twice in a row. So I think when we do finish Ember, I think we would really like to do some other adventures, but maybe ones that are a little bit more smaller in size, like either as small as a Demon Queen or House Divided in size in terms of like a short campaign. Although I do think when the time comes to do those, we would also be looking very closely at like, where is our system Crucible in terms of its readiness to be the target for original adventures, in terms of how complete the system is and how much appetite there is for people to play that. I think we'd also be looking very closely at Ember as a setting, having developed all of this incredibly deep and rich lore and cosmology and world building and setting depth, in terms of like, if we were to make another smaller adventure, would it be one that's set specifically in Ember? I think that's another thing we would be looking very closely at. But certainly making more things like House Divided in the future is something I'd love to do.
And there was a question about why we decided on level 5. Just hold that. There was another question about alternative pop-out tokens to use the dynamic token system for DMs and groups that prefer that style of tokens. I guess that means a House Divided in particular, which does use these top-down tokens. They were told apparently that it could very well be a possibility, but no plans yet. So I assume we're probably still at that stage with that. But yeah, any comment on why level 5? Just the type of story you wanted to tell required a certain power level to start with.
Yeah, I think we considered, that's basically the answer to it, is like, we didn't want House Divided. It wouldn't make sense for House Divided to be an entire like 1 to 11 or so campaign, but the level of sort of metaphysical or stakes that were inherent in the finale of the adventure as envisioned, like we were going to need characters to be level 9, 10, 11 in order to grapple with the severity of the kind of top end content that we wanted to have here. And so that just meant a higher level start. And it's just envisioned that House Divided isn't like the first thing that fledgling baby-faced adventurers run into on their heroic journey. Like they will have experienced something else in their adventuring career before circumstances transpire to lead them to Raventree Estate. And we provide some starter seeds, ideas that you can follow in terms of like origin ideas for the party or for the characters if you don't have a pre-existing backstory. But one of the nice things is because the entirety of House Divided is a little bit of sort of like a pocket plane kind of situation, or like Domain of Dread kind of situation. You can kind of plug it in pretty easily to different games. I mean, whether it's tonally appropriate or not is another question, but as long as your game is one that does kind of have some like darker or horror type themes to it, like the entirety of House Divided could easily take place in Barovia, or easily take place in Ustalav, or easily take place in another setting in another game where it just has to be a house somewhere. You don't need anything more than that, really. So that gives it quite great flexibility in terms of like, I could play. I mean, it's not a Pathfinder game, but like we just released, Secrets of Grace. Like I could play, something like that for the first couple levels of character progression, and then they discover the manor and they go into House Divided. I don't know what the D&D analog of that would be, but maybe some of the like Adventures in Faerun, sort of Lost like Lines. Heroes of the Borderlands, something like that. Then you find this as like the next leg of your heroic journey.
All right, well, we should probably actually get into the playthrough, or this stream will run quite long. So I'm just going to set the scene, set the stage a little bit. So we start in the parlor here. Let me show to players. Okay. This is Basila Danos. The last remaining descendant of the Corvinaris family has inherited the Raventree Estate, a dilapidated ruin rumored to be haunted and worse. Rather than brave the hazardous environs herself, she's decided to hire some professionals, a group of adventurers tasked with exploring the abandoned grounds, finding out what happened there, and making sure it's safe. So those of you who have used the D&D 5e system might recognize our plucky adventurers here. These are the pre-mates that have been with us for a while. We've got Xana, Perrin, Qualathi, I'm not sure, and Krusk. Are the 4 assembled today to do our little playthrough. So after a close call with some arcane augmented wraiths, the party were chased through a strange tear in reality and have found themselves in a shadowy facsimile of the original manor, grand but somehow hollow. This is the Shadewood Parlor. It's got the same footprint as the ruin they just left, but kept immaculate by hands they can't see. Marble floors, lamps burning a soft purple, a piano in the corner, Waiting in the middle of the room, as if he's been expecting them, is Usk, the family butler. So that's the stage set. Talk a little bit about. So I think this module was first released in V10. At least I can see a lineage back to V10 in some of the early files. And I wasn't involved at all with the original House Divided, but I did run it cover to cover with a group, and I'm doing the V14 rework. And so the V14 rework is largely focused around like the big flagship feature of V14, which is levels. And obviously House Divided is a natural fit for this. Each of the 3 versions of the manor have 3 floors each, and so what I've been doing is taking the original 3 scenes for each manor, combining them into one, moving over all of the placeables, deduplicating placeables, building out the surfaces, adding in the floors, like the levels, rewiring everything. So there's a lot of sort of technical work behind the scenes to make that happen. But it's been a really noticeable difference. It feels like complete, whereas before it was a little bit like a workaround. It felt like a workaround, and now it feels very natural, moving around the manor up and down, looking over these balconies and stuff. So it's been a pretty interesting experience. We've got a prompt for Narchy here if you finally get a chance. So I don't know which maps you did for the original manor, but if you could talk a little bit about what it's been like preparing these new floors, any like maybe we can talk about the balconies, because those are proving a little bit of trouble at the moment. We've got to try to get those right. Any of the challenges you've had, any tips as well for doing this sort of work?
Yeah. So, V10s. When was that? Was that 2022? Lots of while ago. I can't even remember now.
Yeah.
Something like that.
So
like that.
So I think I did work on the Ruined Manor and the Feyward Manor, and I did most of the Ruined one, about half of the Fey one, and some of the one. But then I've also worked on, since then, was an update not so long ago. We added animated. So after a couple of years of not looking at this, I was then looking at it again, and then more recently I've been asked to on getting it for levels. So I think there's probably very few sets of Photoshop files that have been so regularly reinterrogated over the years than there is for this module. So yeah, things that we changed, things that we've worked on, things that we changed, and how it's gone. So I have a suspicion that when Andrew, and I think it was Andrew, came up with the layout for this manor, thought that at some point in the future it will be possible to do levels in Foundry, because it in some ways it was almost kind of designed to be like that. You know, there is so many places throughout the map where you are visibly looking down at the levels below you, whether it's balconies, whether it's collapsed floors, you know, it's looking out a window and see down at the grounds, you know, thing. I'm sure it was in the back of your mind at every.
Yeah, maybe not even the back. I mean, I honestly, I thought at the time we were going to have it maybe sooner than now. But there have been so many features for us to develop for Foundry. Like, I commented on this in the V14 stream, but levels was always on the agenda. I didn't know exactly what final form it would take, but definitely when building this adventure and building the maps, you know, the sort of architectural continuity of the environment was at the forefront of my mind, whether we could take immediate advantage of it or whether I knew it was going to be a future value add. There was a lot of thought put into, you know, how would the floors connect to each other? How would the realms connect to each other? Where would be the places where you would be able to move up or move down, within a certain realm. So yeah, there was a lot of thought put into that, and I remember, we worked very closely on, honestly, all three of them. We did each a little bit of all three. I think it's fair to say that, like, I'd mostly done most of the Shadeward stuff, and then we kind of collaborated on the Ruined Manor, and then you handled most of the Feyward, but like we kind of bounced those files back and forth a lot, and somehow managed to get it all done. So yeah, good times.
Yeah, and I think what I've seen now from working on the original non-leveled version maps, and now updating it for a version where it works feature. It's almost easier when you have the levels feature there to work with or to work for, because you're not having to do little tricks, and you're not having to bake things in the backgrounds, and you're not having to always be thinking, I need to make sure I have a version of the ground level that when looked at from the first level doesn't have these things in it, because you can see them. And if you know that you're going to design it for a scene going to be levels stacked on level, some things become much easier. That's what. And in terms of the actual changes that we made, really, like I said, the layout worked very well, so there wasn't a huge amount needed to change. But things like the transitions between a level to the next level, going to be a staircase was only visible on the level, so that when it's stacked per level twice, including token.
Narchy, a small suggestion from chat, if you don't mind, while we cover a next bit. You might reduce the mic noise gate that you have, because I think it's causing you to cut out just a little bit on your Discord. But it's not too bad. But yeah, I think it's kind of clipping out a little bit of what you're saying sometimes.
It's also my part of my accent as well. It doesn't work well with technology sometimes. I've dropped down a little bit, but hopefully that's better now. But yes, yeah, we didn't have to change a lot, but we had to change the same things on all these levels and make sure that it worked in every place. And whilst the building layout doesn't change, the features of the floors does change, and it presents different obstacles for different levels and things like that. So yeah.
There's an interesting question from chat.
There was a question. Yeah.
Go ahead, Kim.
Yeah, no, I think it's the same one, right? It's from Dewey about whether to go Shadeward or Feywild. I think my party ended up in the Shadeward because they didn't even go through the portal in the dining room. I think they ended up going through like there's one like up in the attic or on the first, second floor that can just send you straight to the Shadeward. Yeah.
The staircase of darkness. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. They ended up going through there.
I think
they ended up right in the Shadeward. Yeah.
I don't want to play favorites between the two, really, because it is really intentional that there is that forking choice up front in the very beginning of the adventure, and it's really cool and intentional that different groups that play the adventure are going to have different experiences depending on which initial path they take, or even the third other path, as Kim mentioned. I think that, like, if we were to adapt a screenplay or something of like House Divided, the movie or something, I think narratively probably going Shadeward first works slightly better, but that's maybe for a more by the book sort of group. I think if the group is comprised more of murder hobos or chaos goblins or whatever, I think going Feyward first has a lot to say for itself in that regard. So it's there's no right way to go. I think both have really cool ways that the narrative will unfold equally depending on which other realm you visit first.
Yeah, definitely. All right, thank you. Let's move on then. So, Usk introduces himself politely, seemingly unbothered by their sudden arrival, and offers to escort the party upstairs to meet the lady of the manor. So we will be going upstairs in a moment, but this quest actually starts on this first floor, ground floor for me and Narchy. So we'll skip ahead a bit.
That's also very difficult as well. Is the constant confusion between first and second floor, because
that was a challenge when running this with my group. Yeah, a little bit. So we're just going to skip ahead a bit. So the party have met Vivesna Corvinaris, an enigmatic woman wearing a mask, Basila's aunt-in-law. They've done a few bits and pieces around the house, and now they're being introduced to some other inhabitants of the house by Usk. So we are going to travel through. We're going to in fact introduce the quest. So all of the map notes you see here, you can just click on them. They're all double click on them. They're all linked to area descriptions with read aloud text, and they also are linked to any like quests or events that happen in those areas. So I've just brought up the workshop, which is where we're going, and this is the scene of the quest that we're going to be looking through today, which is meeting Lyranth. So if you click on meeting Lyranth, and then scroll down to the bottom, there's a quest, Lyranth's Masterpiece.
Mm-hmm.
So these journals are all just quite well organized. When I was running it, I had no real trouble. I think the appendices are really good for like a read through of all the NPCs. I would recommend doing that first. Just read through all of the NPCs, understand their relationships with everyone. So we'll see this Lyranth's Masterpiece quest that we're going to do. So Usk is going to lead the party through the first floor and into this small workshop first. So we'll do that. So off he goes. Through the corridors.
I've grown so used to tokens moving much more dramatically and slowly because my whole world revolves around Ember these days. Like, I'm so unused to just seeing, like, whoosh, the tokens just, like, go sprinting across the map.
They've got places to be. They've got stuff to do.
Yeah, they're in a hurry. They're in a hurry.
So Usk will politely step aside, introduce the party to Lyranth. They'll, like, cram into her workshop, Krusk like a bull in a china shop, trying his best not to knock over her statues. Don't have room for Perrin. Okay. We're in the workshop. Okay, good. Yeah, here we are. So chisels and rasps line the walls, stone dust on every surface. Two statues dominate the room, one half carved from white marble, an elven warrior frozen mid-stride, the other already finished, a hooded figure carved so finely the cloth looks soft. The sculptor is Lyranth, a Medusa with an unhealthy infatuation for her patron Vivesna. She has a proposal for the adventurers. She wants to make a statue of Vaxilus, the half-elven son of Lady Vivesna and Kryn Corvinaris' stepson. Specifically, she wants the party to deliver him to her workshop alive, so she can turn him into stone. To do so, the group will need to visit Mr. Timnus, the groundskeeper, and procure ingredients for a paralytic that they can then slip into Vaxilus's wine. So this is obviously a really terrible idea.
Really amazing idea.
I guess we'll just turn over to Andrew. Like, do we really expect anyone to actually take Lyranth up on this? Like, the quest it runs to completion. We didn't cut any corners. You can do it. So yeah, what's the story with this quest?
Well, I think, in this sort of tale of horror of House Divided, we have to present the party with the opportunity to engage with or do horrific things. I think that's kind of necessary for the tone of the adventure, and part of what makes the Shadeward Manor, so the aspect of terror, the aspect of dread of the Shadeward Manor is kind of a little bit of like the normalization of some of the terrible things that have happened to the family, to the people that live here. And I love Lyranth as a character. I wanted to do something with an artist Medusa in this particular product. She was actually one of the first characters I decided, oh, we're definitely going to have like a Medusa sculptor in here somewhere. And I just loved the idea of the petrification of her Medusa monstrosity being just like a totally normalized aspect of her creative process, in a way that like there's like zero self-awareness that what she's asking the party to do is like wrong or horrible or anything. It's just like a very everyday request that one might normally make. And I think the best way to run Lyranth as a GM is just being like incredibly sincere about like everything that she's asking for, and having like a total obliviousness to the immorality of any of it. And that ultimately, if you play the character in that way, that pays off later in the quest when, not to spoil the ending, I guess we'll show a little bit of it, but if things do transpire in a certain way, Lyranth's lack of awareness of what she's doing, or you know, how other people might feel about it, you know, plays interestingly into the role play as well. So, you know, do we expect people to do the quest in the way that's advertised? No, not necessarily, and there's multiple ways to approach it, and there's other ways to proceed with this quest that don't have to follow through exactly on what Lyranth asks you to do. But having a quest giver who's very unashamedly asking the party to do something non-heroic, I think is part of what makes the flavor and tone of House Divided great. And there's other quests in House Divided that are just like that as well, where the party is prompted or requested to do something terrible, and they've got to decide whether to lean into that or not. So, yeah, you know, I think probably some groups would gleefully do this, both because it's funny, it's like a, you know, let's do it for the laughs, let's just see what happens, or you know, Vaxilis as a character can be infuriating, a complicated character to know, complicated character to like, and so Vaxilis is sort of the perfect subject for Lyranth here, because it crafts a really fine balance between, like, on one hand you've got someone asking you to do something terrible, but on the other hand they're asking you to do it to someone who's a complete asshole and possibly deserves it. And so, you know, it's an interesting mini quandary just to give the party something to struggle with, and it's a narratively memorable arc whichever way it goes.
Yeah, I think it depends very much on whether you've met Vaxilis before Lyranth asks you to do this or not. Maybe if you've not met him yet, it feels like a lot harder to justify. All right, so let's move on. Thank you. That's good.
I don't know if you're going to comment on this later, Kim, or not, but you might. We might also relate this to the concept of the approval system potentially.
It's coming up.
Okay.
Yep. Most of the quests in House Divided give you your usual D&D rewards. You might get a nice magic item or a milestone point, but many of the quests also give you another currency, which is very important for the adventure, and that is approval. So you can bring up the approval tracker. I think it's in the journals. Have a look at that, and in the journals sidebar. So depending on how the party decide to resolve their quests and the decisions they make, they can gain and lose approval with various important characters in the story. Are you able to find that? Are you able to get to it? Yeah, you got it. So you can see there's, I mean, maybe this is spoilers, I don't know, there's some sort of like important characters in here which you can gain approval with. And this particular quest is quite a good one because it has some perhaps unexpected approval gains involved if you go through with it, which can open some doors for you and will naturally shut some others. So this is, even though it's an optional quest, it's really quite impactful. And not all of them are. Not all of them have make such big waves, but I suppose this one is you'd naturally expect it to. So the party by this point have already had a run-in with Vaxilus, we're assuming. So they've done a few things around the house already, if you remember. He is utterly insufferable, and so naturally they unanimously agree to Lirant's plan. In another timeline, they might have taken any of a few different routes. So this is something that Andrew alluded to earlier. So you can talk Lirant down to a more conventional posing arrangement, assuming you can convince Vaxilus. You can report her plot to Vaxilus or Vivesna, or you can simply refuse. I mean, it's a tabletop role-playing game, so those aren't the only options. You can do whatever you want, of course, but those are the ones that at least the quest gives you some guidance on. And the rest you can, of course, extrapolate based on all of the characters' motivations and goals that you can find in the appendices. I think you already went over this a bit. I don't know if there's anything more you want to say about these branching quest lines. I don't know any specific challenges that they give you.
Mm-hmm.
I know for example, Ember is sort of 10 times as challenging in this sense because it's not as self-contained. I've certainly run up against it a bit when in my playtesting, but we're talking about House Divided here. But I don't know if you have any comments on that. Otherwise, we'll push on.
Well, I think what you said, Kim, is right, that the approval system, you get impactful approval gains or disfavor, disapproval with certain characters, and you mentioned how that opens doors for you, and that is more than just a figure of speech in the sense that in order to progress the main quest of House Divided, you are going to need to side with somebody, multiple somebodies, really. Like you're going to have to pick from this cast of characters, like who will you make your allies and who will you make your enemies. And whoever you ally with, there's going to be some way for you to work with that person in order to have a line of sight towards completing the main quest in a particular way. But depending on which characters throughout the manor you side with, it will really change the way that you can approach endgame. And so it is interesting to do a quest like this that is not a main quest. It's an optional side quest, but it really does change the way that characters around the manor think about you, and that really changes the way that the main quest will play out, because you're either going to be confronting someone that you've made an enemy of, or you're going to be helping someone that you've kind of thrown your lot in with, or you're going to be, the fuck everyone, we burn it all down, there's other paths as well, but yeah, certainly the approval system is something that I really like, the way that it kind of weaves throughout the entire adventure and how it affects the way that you experience the conclusion of the story, as well as the epilogue in some ways as well, in terms of who survives, who doesn't.
Yes, if it's not obvious, there's multiple endings. There's also the secret super good ending, and there's quite a lot of flavors of bad ending, which my group ended up
with kind of a Souls-like approach to the ending palette, I think.
Yeah, that's right. There was a quick question about how does the adventure deal with character death. It does, in fact. There's quite a few options. Particularly in the Shadewood Manor, there is a devil. I think is he a tiefling? No, he's a devil, right? Vostolos, who you can make some pacts with, including bringing characters back from the dead. You are 5th level at least, so you should have Revivify, and you are not locked into the manor. You can actually return to the material plane eventually, and you can go about your normal business. You can actually leave. You're not confined here like some of the members of the manor are. I don't know if there's anything extra, anything I missed. But yeah, there's Vostolis.
There's other options as well. Yeah, there's options in the shade in the Feyward as well that can be available to you. There's also some hints around if you're not saving an existing character but introducing a new one, how that might how you might approach that quandary.
Yeah, there's a few good options, including like the general DM improvisation. You're in the Feyward, maybe open up a giant oversized flower and a person spills out. Why not?
There are beings of considerable power throughout all realms of the manor that you might engage with, for sure.
Yeah, that's right. We've got another question.
I like. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I like the reference from Artemis about Mael and Expedition 33. Obviously, a game that came out much after we released House Divided, but I did really enjoy. I mean, obviously, great game, and I think there's a lot of kind of like some like vibes in common a little bit, and I was like often thinking of House Divided when playing it.
Haven't played it. I don't know. Have you played it, Narchy? Feels like it's impossible to avoid now. Neither of us have played it. Maybe someday. There was a question about if the group makes enemies of everyone in the manor, does that derail the adventure? I guess the question is which manor. But certainly the adventure doesn't make it easy for you to do the burn it all down approach. It's quite challenging if you want to go that way. It does discourage all out violence. There's your usual amount of D&D violence involved, but like all out violence is quite challenging, I would say. And I think
it's also
that,
potentially foolish because the characters that preside over these domains are powerful ones that will only have limited tolerance for disruption or disobedience.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Some people are stupid though, and will do it.
Some people will definitely try it regardless. Like we're the main characters, right?
What could go wrong?
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. There's another question about Vostolis tried to tamper with the ending through a PC who might have signed a lifetime contract. I think Vostolis can have some pretty considerable influence in a lot of the adventure. He maybe initially appears as like a more minor side character, but depending on what you do, he can he absolutely can affect the ending and lots of things. He can affect the long-term immortal soul of some of your characters as well, if that's the way you want to play it. I think that's all the questions. All right, so let's push on. So as we established, the party have agreed to Lirant's proposal. So they're going to they've gone to meet Mr. Timnus, the groundskeeper. Nath, I'm sure, will tell you about his name, and they've procured a paralytic. So Mr. Timnus himself, also one of those characters who can have quite a fair bit of influence. He's got a very tragic story as well. Quite liked Mr. Timnus, and they've spoken to the groundskeeper. They've procured this paralytic. So now all they need to do is spike Vaxilus's wine. So we are going to head up to Vaxilus's room. We'll get to see some of the level changing in action. So Usk will probably not take them. He probably doesn't want to be involved in this. Let's have them all move through here. All right, off they go. Upstairs to the second floor. So we'll see a bit here, the change level region. This foyer area, I think, needs a little bit of work. We're still working on it. We're still trying to understand. You can see the falling. Yeah. So this we do need to adjust. I had the scene transition on this sort of mezzanine landing at the first flight, but it doesn't quite work. It needs to be further up, so we gotta redo a little bit, and then it should work fine, because you'll end up going onto the second floor when you reach the second flight of stairs rather than the first.
Yeah, that would probably be a little bit easier to manage.
Everything will work out just fine. Yeah.
With the elevation changes. Yeah,
that's right.
Remodeling of the manor is still a somewhat ongoing exercise. Kim, just hold on one second, because I think I maybe didn't give people the best view of it, but just let me flip back and forth between first and second for a second, so that people can sort of see
of course,
how that's working. So, of course, this is all a single scene, and there is just a very brief, it's not really a load so much as just re-rendering the canvas when you switch levels between them, but as you go up from the first floor, it connects seamlessly to the second, and then of course up to the attic as well. I don't know, are you going to show the attic in this stream?
No, not planned.
I'll
so
just,
you can
I'll
have a
just
look
show
at
it
the
quickly
attic.
then, if you're not going to get to it otherwise. Yeah. So there's a third floor as well, and so they each connect in various ways, as you would be, traversing around the environment. And there's places where you can just kind of automatically and nearly seamlessly move your player tokens, can move themselves around in a way that will take them from level to level. And if you're not yet too familiar with version 14, the scene navigation bar now has the 3 levels underneath the scene, so you can see from the little player pips, for example, you can see who's looking at which level, in case the players aren't all exactly where you need them to be, or you need to know who's off running away somewhere else that you might not be aware of, or whatnot. But yeah, the sort of interconnectedness previously, for those of you who didn't play House Divided in an earlier version, these were previously 3 different scenes, and so there was a lot of hoops to jump through in terms of teleporting your tokens out of one scene into another scene when moving from the first floor to the second floor. And now the interconnectedness of this environment is just a lot more naturally established.
Hopefully everyone had a good overview of the levels there. We'll be seeing a little bit more of them as we head over to Vaxilus's room. So you can see here the dance floor, another place where you can see sort of down onto the first floor from the second floor, and this dance floor is repeated as in all 3 manors, same as the foyer.
Why don't we put a character down on the dance floor real quick, so people can see what would it look like if there's someone down there.
Yeah, you want to put Quilath.
Sure, yeah, I'll do that.
Sure. You'll have to probably...
Oh, do we have,
It might need to peek over the edge a little bit to see. Oh, no.
I wonder if there's a visibility... Oh, well. I took Kim off script with this, so it's my fault if it doesn't quite go according to plan.
You should be able to see them, because you can see the Onyx Knights and everything. I think we probably just can't see over the lips properly. Maybe I need to redo the surfaces, but we'll go over the surfaces and
stuff.
stuff.
Yeah, it might have something to do with the surfaces.
A bit later. Okay, moving all through. So into Vaxilus's room. So Vaxilus keeps an open bottle of wine in his chamber at most hours of the day and isn't in the habit of watching it carefully. Perrin, the most dexterous of the group, surreptitiously spikes Vaxilus's drink. The half-elf then pours himself a glass, takes a swallow, manages half a sentence and collapses, rigid, conscious, and entirely unable to do anything about it. So now let's make him paralyzed. He is paralyzed, and then let's now they just need to sort of get him out of the chamber, down the staircase, across the first floor, and into Lyranth's workshop, hopefully without anyone really noticing. The only people that sort of frequent the corridors are these Onyx Knights, which sort of stare creepily and passively. So they unsure if they'll be noticed. So we'll take him down back through the floors, and this is a good spot. I think now we talked about the foyer and the balcony and everything. Narchy, one of the things that was, I mean, it's pretty minor, but it was pretty cool when I was building this with your new tiles, where you had all the cutouts and stuff, was just where I finally put them all in place, set all the visibility, and then you could just immediately see the bottom floor through the cutouts, and it was actually, the real asset that you were seeing through the visibility, and it wasn't just like a baked in pretend. I think you mentioned it earlier, but did you have any challenges? Was it actually easier to do it like this? These balconies, the foyer area with the double staircase, do they give you any particular trouble?
There's a few challenges. I suppose the challenges kind of come from this being a conversion rather than creating it in the first place. Thinking about this in all areas of the map. So yeah, there's things like shadows are the big one. So shadows existing in the maps, help with the lighting, and they also help with giving the idea of the fact that the foreground is above the player characters, and previously, being able to bake things into the background would have just hidden a lot of sins about how the maps were actually put together. But if you just layered all the layers on top of each other, you would have shadows building up to the point where certain areas of the map might become very dark because they have baked in shadows in the foreground and things like that. So I had to do a little bit of sort of pulling back the shadows a bit in certain areas, but knowing that when it was all stacked, they would appear correctly. And then, we've gone up this staircase, and I think now we've gone up the staircase, we might change how that staircase works. I think the other staircases are okay, but this one's maybe a bit of an issue. But these thresholds between the levels, you have to sort of give consideration to where a token is going to be standing whenever it gets to just before the threshold, and where it makes the most sense for that to happen. But that wasn't a huge challenge in this map because we're talking about staircases. So at the top of a staircase is a very natural place to sort of cut a hole in the background and say beneath this is the staircase on the floor below. There are other situations where it could be much more complex. If you're climbing natural terrain and things like that, it might be more difficult. Sorry, go ahead.
It's a good point that you kind of really have to, I have to work fairly closely with you in where we cut the floor, because I'm setting up the regions, like the change level behaviors and stuff, and you're doing, and you really do need to sort of communicate on that to get it correct. I don't know if there's a few cartographers out there who do maps that are fully sort of level based anyway, which are great fits. Like we've seen some of Tom Kartos's work with the restored keep that we're doing, and those you can just grab off the shelf and wire them up pretty easily with levels. But in those cases, you don't have the original cartographer. You can just ping on Discord and ask them to cut something out or change something, chop things up. So that's been really helpful. Yeah,
and I think if starting a So I have done maps that use levels for Ember, for example, and it was known that levels would be involved. And if you think through it logically, then how you can use levels, it really removes quite a lot of restrictions on an area you might build for a particular encounter, because now you know that this encounter can happen on a single scene with players at multiple different verticalities, each with their own vision of completely different parts of the map, and this can all happen as a single encounter. So you then get to think, well, I don't need to do things like have stuff in the way, so that the party doesn't go somewhere I don't want them to go. They can just, you can make a map that they can fully explore, and then they can use within Foundry as well for an encounter. Like this balcony, the first floor balcony or the dance hall balcony, you can now have an encounter where there is somebody standing on that balcony shooting arrows down at the person on the ground floor, and both can see each other, and they can see the movement, and they both have their own vision of whatever they can see at their level.
That almost literally happens in our ruined version of the manor with the combat that happens in that dance floor there. So
it's a poltergeist.
And previously it might have been a bit more clunky, much more theater of the mind. Yeah. Like, by the way, that guy, he's upstairs, you can't see him, but he is there. Whereas now, they're where they need to be.
Yeah.
And it all looks right. That's the important thing. So.
Yeah, exactly. So previously, every floor was its own scene, and running combat, you could kind of do it. Like, you could unlink the combat tracker, and then but the GM would have to switch between scenes all the time and tell people where things were, and like it was not great. It's fine. It was workable. Like I did it when I ran it, but it wasn't. There were definitely some friction points, and now it's really smooth. And with House Divided in particular, it's a case where there is actually quite a lot of the sort of verticality. This dance floor is quite important to the main quest, actually, in two manners, and both of them involve this verticality. There's not a lot of, but there is some running above out on the rooftops as well if you want to, and like falling down onto the balconies that you can reach from the rooftops. There's all sorts of that sort of stuff, and it just really sort of completes the picture. The whole thing just feels just smooth and put together now.
And getting rid of that sort of artificial restriction of there's no way to visually represent this on a 2D sort of flattened map, is so helpful. So there's other projects that I'm working on where even very recently I've realized, I can actually fill in the gaps of this tower, for example. It doesn't need to be the top and the bottom. It can actually be all the middle layers, and they can just all be stacked there, within the levels, and the token will move up, so the battle can actually happen on the staircase rather than everyone kind of assuming or trying to pretend they can see each other. They can actually see each other.
Yeah. So it actually almost makes things easier to do these maps in some cases.
I think in many cases it does, because you don't have to use it, but you always end up in these weird situations where you're trying to fake something to make it look right in both situations where it doesn't really look right in either. But with the levels, you can just say, this is at this height, this is at this height, and when they're stacked, it looks correct.
It also, of course, challenges not just the process of making the cartography, but the design process in terms of designing gameplay moments. I mean, I think this is something that is harder to do in print. I mean, certainly creators will do it, and there's different tricks you can use, but if you can confidently lean into that kind of multi-level approach, then you have some opportunities in the design space that you wouldn't otherwise.
Got a question from Dewey. Sometimes I find it a bit confusing as to how many pre-written descriptions there are, specifically descriptions from rooms and events that double up on describing the room. Is the intention that you skip the room description if an encounter plays out, or is it different on a case-by-case basis? I don't remember. off the top of my head, I don't remember running into issues like that.
It
I thought the encounter descriptions are like descriptions of not necessarily the room.
we tried to keep them separate. I think the multi-layering of narrative here is a challenge in that, like, there is the environment itself, which we explain in all of these pinned room particular notes about, like, what is the environment, what is there to find here, what might happen here. But, like, whether or not that thing is actually happening at this moment in time is subjective. Like, there's, like, what is the workshop itself, but is the meeting Lyranth event happening? Is Vivesna here when it happens, depending on Vivesna's schedule? Is are you undertaking the quest? Those things are kind of an additional event layer. And so we do have the two different journal pages, one about the location and then one about the events. And it's, it can be a little clunky, but it is kind of the best way that we've figured out to do this. And I guess we've improved upon it a little bit with Ember, but we do still have with Ember a similar sort of dichotomy between, the event gameplay versus the area walkthrough gameplay. If you tried to merge those two things together, you would have a hard time, I think, keeping concerns separate in terms of, like, is it a particular narrative moment that's occurring, or is it details about the place? But yeah, it's a really hard challenge, and I think it's one that we maybe haven't entirely cracked yet. There is probably an even more perfect solution to how best to do that is out there somewhere, but maybe that's for our next adventure to figure out.
Yeah. Right, thank you. So we are now... the party have successfully hauled Vaxilus, who is mercifully quiet for once, into her workshop. She is delighted. She fusses over the pose for a few minutes, settling Vaxilus into a delicate contrapposto, his left hand raised as if reaching out to someone. She tuts at his expression, gently arranging his jaw and cheeks until the look of frozen terror reads instead as something fonder, almost loving. Then her serpents writhe, her eyes flash, and over the course of the next minute, Vaxilus turns to stone. So he is now petrified. Where is petrified?
It occurs to me there's something fun we could do with V14 if we wanted to add an active effects compendium. We could have just drag and drop for, like, the paralytic poison, or like Lyranth's petrification or something. We could have droppable effects for those. Yeah.
I think in a lot of the sort of D&D conversions, we've been settling on like macros, but now with the V14 active effects, can at least do, like, there's quite a lot of traps as well that we kind of model as NPCs at the moment, which would benefit from just being an active effect you can drag onto them. I don't know if Badge is still in chat. I saw him earlier, but he can probably speak to that. And what would be nice, actually, I can't do it at the moment, but like, if I could just desaturate the token entirely, then I could make it sort of stone.
That would be cool.
That's probably possible. Okay, so he is petrified. Nothing you can do about it. And we are now going to do a little time skip to the big reveal of Lyranth's masterpiece that she has worked on for her patron, Lady Vivesna. So we will
Vaxilus's
advance
mother,
time.
to be clear for everybody.
Vaxilus's mother, yes. So we are going to advance time by a day, skip to the next day, and then we will take everyone to the Lord's Chambers up on the second floor. Here we are. I'll pull everyone here. And So, are we all? I'll just do a ping pong. I think we're all there. Yeah, good. All right. So the next afternoon now, in the Lord's chambers, Kryn is on his throne, looking bored. Vivesna stands at his side, attentive. They are flanked by a pair of onyx knights standing motionless. In the center of the room, on a low pedestal, the statue waits beneath a sheet. Lyranth makes a small speech about wishing to immortalize something that would bring her patron joy. She pulls the drape away. Stone Vaxilus, regal, reaching out to his mother. Kryn, for the briefest moment, suppresses a smile. Vivesna's voice is calm. You did this for me, she says. Lyranth, still beaming, doesn't catch the shift. She begins to answer. A sage green beam from Vivesna's fingertip, and Lyranth is dust before she even gets a word out.
No, Lyranth!
So, back to you, Andrew. I think we covered this already, whether we expected people to go this route, and but maybe you can speak a little bit to what completing it quietly unlocks elsewhere in the campaign. So there's a trimming the will resolution, and this outcome, while I mean to me at least, just crazy. Why would you ever do this? It just seems like such a terrible idea. But if you do it, Kryn is actually pretty happy. He doesn't like Vaxilus, and so you get a big approval swing with him. And naturally lose quite a lot of approval with Vivesna. Probably past the point of no return with Vivesna. I don't think there's any coming back from this.
But yeah, Kryn and Vivesna are a little bit like whether there was any love between them once, enough time immemorial has passed in this terrible place that, they're kind of here by force rather than by choice, and so there is kind of some rivalry or antagonism between the two, and if you are going to advance the Shadeward Manor storyline, you'll need to potentially win the favor of either Kryn or Vivesna, or possibly both if you are very shrewd, or possibly neither if you're very brave. They are both powerful spellcasters, and if you offend either or antagonize either or both, you're going to have a very hard time on your hands. But certainly,
Lyranth just found out,
figuring out ways to appease or to please one of the two is something that will be key to your ability to proceed further in the adventure. And to speak to the trimming the will option in particular, Kryn is certainly not fond of Vaxilus, and getting rid of Vaxilus may be a prerequisite for Kryn moving ahead with you in either stead. There are other potential inheritors of Raventree, and so there are a few other potential characters out there as well that Kryn might prefer were no longer in the picture.
Yes, this is a pretty drastic way to win Kryn's approval. Although a lot of his requirements eventually end up being quite drastic, regardless. So there's no escaping it. You do have to really decide whether you're going to side with him or not. All right. Brief detour. So we've paused time while this unfolds, and we're back to it. So at this point, the party's involvement in this little escapade is obvious. Vivesna barks an order, and the Onyx Knights peel off the walls. The party flee back out of the Lord's chambers, pursued by the Knights. So
Run away!
They're fleeing. Perrin, the monk, using his open hand technique, blasts 2 of the knights through the banister and onto the floor of the foyer below, where they land prone in a sprawled heap, giving the rest of the party enough time to scramble down the stairs to the first floor. So off they go. And
awesome.
Then these guys can split up and rush. So off they go, skating past the now prone guards. The front doors are heavily guarded, so they try their luck leaving the back of the manor and exiting into the grounds. I've realized now. Yeah, there we go. Let's just.
Let's get out of here!
So off they scarper through the manor.
Take over a few more guards on the way out. That's fine.
Yeah,
MOA.
Rush past a few more guards. Out the back. And we've got some of the transitions here. I think should teleport them.
I didn't have one of them
Do we-
controlled, so they're gone, but you can pull me over.
Yeah.
If I had one of the tokens controlled at the time, I would have gone along for the ride. But
and we can return. Now they've escaped out into the grounds. So a small disclaimer about the where do I have it? Yeah, about the falling tech that you just saw. Maybe it was too quick. This is not a house divided feature, it's a game system feature, and it's still a work in progress. So it will probably come in version 6 of the D&D 5e system, but that won't be for a few months. So you'll just need to update to the new version whenever that's out. And then Narchy, I don't know if there's anything more you want to say about some of the map work that we've shown today.
This is very good because I just noticed something that I still have to do, which I have because, and this is like I was talking before about baking things into the map. So the manor building that's baked into the grounds is the pre-levels version, so it has like the slightly older shadows and all that kind of stuff. So I'm like, oh,
good thing
I have to update that. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so that's something. It's been a fun little experience seeing this adventure evolve. I think over since it was first created way back in V10, and then through doors in V12, and then now levels in V14. There's been a lot of reorganization of files, which is not very exciting, but it was a lot of work. Trying to get these things to work, particularly for situations where you're trying to create like those balcony tiles that we had and the mezzanine tiles, other tiles that are triggered by macros during certain events and things like that. I've redone those just to make it a little bit slicker, so that we're just swapping one tile with another rather than replacing the entire background of a room, which seemed to be the way to do it 5 years ago, but definitely isn't the way you would do it now. Especially whenever you're trying to also do it in such a way where you have like transparency in the tiles, because it is stacked on top of a level below. So you have to make sure you're not baking anything in there that might create a sort of visual artifact that shouldn't be there in the first place. It's good. I think map-wise we're maybe nearly there, I think. Although I've obviously now realised that I need to update the grounds on all maps because they're different.
It's definitely the kind of thing that, like, how much are you going to do? Well, how much do you want to do? There's always some additional thing that we can do. There's always a next step that we can take. And of course, like, we need to balance our investment here. I think we love House Divided, and we, want to keep seeing it improve year on year. And there was a question about that, I guess, to go back a few moments in chat, but I think just slightly earlier, somebody asked a question about Gold Saturn asked, how do you approach prioritizing upgrades of premium content made for older versions of Foundry? I mean, at least specific to our own content, I mean, we always want it to be compatible. I think compatibility is like the bare minimum. I think there's a question of like, when do we want to go a step beyond compatibility and add new features or make improvements? And I think we've done that with a couple rounds, both with Demon Queen Awakens, which we've done multiple rounds of improvements to, and House Divided now that we've done a couple rounds of improvements to. Ember will be the same way. We'll always be going back and making improvements to Ember. We don't make a lot of first-party content, and so when we do, I think our team has like a shared desire for it to stand the test of time and to not be something that we just release and move on from. But, we don't... I think the reception to House Divided has been very good, and we've gotten great reviews, and people keep buying it, and that's wonderful. It is almost a passive little bonus income stream for our team, but when we go on these side quests to invest a bunch of time and effort into making it better, that kind of wipes out all of the gains we get. So it's definitely very much a labor of love. I think we kind of improve these products because we're proud of them and because they showcase what are some of the best things that Foundry can do, and what's sort of the top end type of experiences that you can have with an adventure in this software. But I think maybe not the like optimal business strategy in terms of like pure profit maximization, but we're very proud of what we've made here, and I think we want to keep it always touched up so that it can be an evergreen experience that people can always enjoy, and I hope it's something that everyone who enjoys playing D&D on Foundry, I hope everyone at some point in their life will have a chance to play House Divided. That would be my dream, is that like everyone should get a chance to play this at least once sometime. That's the ambition, and everyone's a lot of people, so
it's a lot of people, yeah. And you should probably not listen to Lyranth when she asks you to turn Maximus Stone. I would.
Yeah, you don't want to do what everybody says. Maybe there's some bad influences out there in House Divided.
Don't be too eager to please. Some more questions. More features coming or not for future VT? Ponderous possible additions to this exact adventure. So if we spitball more features coming or not for future VTT releases beyond V14, what would you all ponder as possible additions to this exact adventure? What kind of icings on the cake would you like to have even more, like the aforementioned token FX? And we've got a question for Narchy. What were the aesthetic challenges or specialties when making the maps for the adventure? Did Forgotten Adventure assets cover all your needs, or did you have to add custom ones a lot as well? I guess both of you can speak to that. I would guess the Feyward probably required some custom work. I don't know. That banner is crazy. Should we do that question first? Yeah,
I'm happy to start on that one. So I think the Forgotten Adventures assets covered the majority of things, but this was done actually quite a long time ago. I think that's one thing I would do, is just go mad with the new assets that are available and add more things in. But at the time,
we were working with a more limited palette at the time.
But there are custom assets in there. There's statues and there's other things that are. Andrew, you probably know more than I do about those because I think they were there already, or they came in.
Definitely. I mean, there's certain things like this, like Kirneros statue over at the autumnal gate, and all of the little like thorn vines in the hedge maze here. The thorn vines were like a thing that we had to kind of make to be poking out of the hedge mace. I mean, honestly, all over there's like little bits of things that's like we had to, kit bash something to make it work that there wasn't an option in the library. But the FA library is very good, as most of you know, and it's gotten even better over time. I think if we were to revisit significantly these maps now, we'd probably have a lot more to work with. But I think they still stand the test of time extremely well, and they still look great. Really, really lovely environments to explore. Lovely or horrible or both.
I think particularly in these maps, it's not just the assets, but it's the use of the tonal changes to the colors and things like that as well. There's actually the same assets appear in each map, but they look very distinctly different with the changes in color and then the lighting engine as well, and the fog and everything. The same thing just looks different significantly or distinctly in each of the three maps.
As far as like some other things that I would envision us adding, maybe not in this release, but maybe in a future, let's continue touching it up. I think we can do a lot more with little, 2D animations, like particle effects, things like this. Like one of the things I really miss, for example, that we do in Ember because we're set up for it and it's like a natural part of our cartography creation workflow, but like something like this, like, big fountain in the grounds, like ideally, like obviously, like this fountain should be animated. It should have like little, water spray particles all around it, and that's the kind of thing that ideally we'd use our new particle generator for it. But maybe we still lack some of the tooling to like easily integrate that. We have a lot of like Ember specific tooling for like how to add a custom particle generator for a specific effect to a specific scene, and as we continue to generalize those tools or make them, maybe move some of them to core or build some new core, particle frameworks or things like that, like we'd love to add. I think I'd love to see like some additional just like subtle animation in the scene just to make it a little bit more, a little bit more alive. I don't think I was talking to you, Narchy, about, how we do parallax effects in Ember. I don't think that we would
just probably... what I was thinking, yeah.
Yeah, I really love that, but I think that's probably something that's maybe a bridge too far, because that requires really, really thoughtfully like building the maps from square one in a particular way that's optimized for it. But who knows, while I don't have the appetite for that today, who knows where we'll be a year from now, and maybe what I'm not hungry for us to take on right now, I'd be hungry for us to do next year or the year after or something. It's hard to say, but there's lots of like little things we can do to just like add more polishing touch to the way that the adventure looks or feels or sounds, and I would like to see us do that, I think, over time, for sure.
Some more questions. Got a lot of questions. Good stuff. There was a question about, does the V14 House Divided still support 5e 2014? I don't know if we have, actually I can check right now. I don't know if we have it as a import option. I think we just converted most of the SRD creatures to their 2024 counterparts, but it's fully backward compatible, so you can run your 2014 characters no problem. A few of the custom NPCs were built using the earlier rules as well, so they're the same as they were before. So yeah, you can just run it with whichever rule version you prefer.
I might have just like zoned out for a split second, Kim, but can you remind me, have we already, or are we swapping out things like spells, or are we keeping those as they were?
We swapped out spells. We swapped out SRD. Yeah. So Kryn and Vivesna, for example, and I think Elsieth. I think
they're like
those are
modernized
the big
spellcasters of a sort. Yeah.
They have the more modern spells, which for the most part, well, maybe this is just opinion, but they're improved, unless it's spiritual weapon, which got taken out the back and shot. So unfortunately. More questions. Is Asvaya going to support Crucible? I had quite a lot of questions about Crucible. Actually, it seems quite popular. I guess You did the
Hopefully
stream
people
yesterday.
saw my stream on Sunday. Yeah, hopefully people enjoyed that.
Yeah, so go check out the Crucible stream. I don't know. Maybe?
I would love to offer a Crucible version of House Divided someday. I've been thinking about this, and just like, it's not something I've really discussed with the team much because I don't think we have the really the bandwidth for it at the moment. But I think once once Crucible development in Ember catches up to sort of the main thread of D&D development in Ember, once that has happened, I think there would be a little bit more opportunity to maybe think about would we want to dip our toes into the possibility of a Crucible House Divided. I would love for that to happen someday, because I really like the system, I really like the narrative of this adventure, I really like the maps, the setting. I would love to try playing House Divided in a different rule set, our own rule set, and see how that goes. I think it would be a whole lot of fun, but also a lot of work. It is not a short adventure. Lots of actors, lots of stat blocks, lots of creatures, lots of gameplay moments, events, challenges, skill checks and whatnot to redesign hazards. And so it would be like a quite significant undertaking to make Crucible House Divided. But if we're able to continue making the Crucible system in a way that people are really excited about, and I do feel like the trend of excitement about Crucible is an upwards one. I feel like I pay close attention to it, obviously, and I think every week it just feels like there's a little bit more people keeping an eye on the system or trying the system or curious about the system. And so if we're able to keep that upward trajectory, then yeah, I think someday I would love for that to happen. I guess I wouldn't want us to like massively lose money on doing it though, because like it would cost us quite a lot of time to do, and then if we're not able to actually like sell more copies of House Divided because we did that, then it would be a little bit hard to justify. So I think just waiting to see, like, do we have the time that we could invest into it, and then like, is it actually a smart investment to make? I really hope that it will be, though. I think someday that's my goal.
Yeah, I think Demon Queen lends itself very well to Crucible as well.
Yeah, the problem with Demon Queen is like we just haven't developed high level gameplay for Crucible yet.
Yeah.
We're getting there, but there's even the level range of House Divided. If we kept it as like 5 to 9 or 5 to 10 or something like that, that would be tougher. But the nice thing about it being kind of a 5 to 10 sort of level range is like that's already a level range that we have to support for Crucible for Ember. So it's like that's already something that's being prioritized. I think House Divided kind of skips straight to the top end of that level range, and maybe a little Demon Queen skips to the top end of that level range, and even a little bit higher besides. And so I think the Crucible system isn't quite mature enough yet to jump straight to like a high level dread bosses end game kind of setup. There's a lot more development that needs work on the foundations before getting there in a way that would feel good and satisfying and balanced. But I think House Divided is in a better place there. We also are committed to doing the Crucible beginner box, which is going to be a standalone Crucible low-level adventure. I don't know exactly what levels it will span. It might only be level 1. It might be like level 1 to 3. We still are figuring it out, but yeah, I mean, there will be a Crucible beginner box as well. We're committed to doing that, and so that's also has to take its place in the content production queue somewhere.
Yeah, someday. I mean, Demon Queen as a Crucible would be very cool, for sure. A question for Narchy. What kind of software do you use for map creation? Forgotten Adventure Nexus, DD, I don't know. DD is Dungeon Draft, I guess, Photoshop, etc. Yeah.
So I use a couple of different things. It's a combination of the sort of right tool for the right job. There's a thing that people know less is I think a software called Clip Studio Paint, which is a excellent sort of vector-based but also raster-based sort of graphics program, which conveniently Forgotten Adventures also use to draw their assets. So many of their assets are already available as brushes and things like that within Clip Studio. So I tend to do a lot of the heavy-duty drawing of walls and large textures and cliffs and all the big picture stuff tends to happen in Clip Studio because it's very quick and easy to do. And then I would use Photoshop then to assemble maps and apply effects and maybe add in details within a room and things like that tend to happen within Photoshop. And I also have a sketchbook that sits on my desk that I draw in occasionally before moving into one of those two. So yeah.
Oh, interesting. I didn't realize you switched between the two.
Interestingly,
yeah, it's they have their own, they have their own pluses and minuses when it comes to doing different stages. So
yeah.
Interestingly, like very independently of that, my own workflow mirrors quite closely to what Narchy does. I think we've kind of probably both settled on about a pretty similar approach. I probably do a bit more of the initial structuring and texturing in Photoshop, and then I go over to Clip Studio to do brushwork, and then I come back to Photoshop for anything after that. But still, also for me, a sort of two-tool approach is also how I've approached all of these maps and the ones that I make for Ember and stuff as well. I think the Clip Studio brushes are just super, super powerful and a huge time saver. And so I basically will get my Photoshop file set up ready for all of the brushwork I need, and then I'll go over to Clip and do all of the brushwork that I do, a batch of it, at least as much as I can envision needing at that moment, and then go back to Photoshop. And then if I discover I need more, more brushwork later, I'll keep going back and forth. But I think Photoshop tends to be better. In my opinion, Photoshop tends to be better for the structuring and organization and working on large, complex maps. If you have a big map with a lot of different levels, a lot of different areas, Photoshop's ability to break it up into multiple documents, like smart objects that you're working on only a subset of the map at once, that's crucial. Also, Photoshop's capabilities with advanced filtering and different filters, different layer effects, different clipping masks and stuff like that. There's just a lot of image manipulation tools that Photoshop is so powerful that I don't feel comfortable trying to do that stuff in Clip.
You can do it in Clip I think on a smaller scale. I think once you have many layers and many different files involved, the organization of it becomes a bit more. Yeah, it just becomes harder to track in my mind. I'm sure there's masters of Clip Studio who can do all these things in Clip Studio. I think, like you said about the file organization, obviously I've been inside these files quite a lot recently, and I think the shade word map is not just one file; it is 60 files.
Yeah, it's something.
It's a
obscene,
file
but
per room.
It'd be too difficult to work on otherwise, because it would be.
You couldn't do it.
Yeah. And of course, we one-time licensed purchased softwares need to all stick together, so we have to support Clip Studio a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah, I think
I've got my perpetual license, which I had to find the other day because I reinstalled Windows.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. More questions. This looks like a fairly substantial module with a lot of interconnections between people. How far ahead do you have to prep to understand those, and are there relationship quick references to help with that? I can maybe answer this because I did run it. I read the adventure cover to cover before I ran it. You don't have to. There are absolutely relationship quick references. They're in the appendix. You can read. Definitely, if you do nothing else, I would recommend reading through those first before you run it. Certainly, like adventure, like Ember, for example, is designed that you can pick it up and run it as you go. This module, you can probably pick it up and run it as you go. I don't know because I haven't done it, but I found, at least that I benefited a lot from reading it cover to cover first. It really helped understand. Like, you don't have to memorize it or anything, but just one read through lets you be familiar, so that when things come up, you kind of can recall the exact sort of goals. Not the exact, but you can recall a little bit about the goals and the personalities of the people involved, and helps you improvise a bit on what they would do in the sort of off script things that your party get up to. So I would say it benefits from that. I don't know if it's required.
Kim, how about we, while we still have everyone here, before we lose too much of our audience, why don't we do a giveaway?
Should we do the giveaway?
Yeah, why don't we give the good folks in chat a chance to get their hands on House Divided, since we've been showing it off in the stream. So, you know, I'm sure many of you know our approach to giveaways these days, but for those of you who don't, all you have to do is you have to be logged in to Twitch so that you show up in the viewer list for the stream. And I'm going to pull that viewer list, and then we'll use that viewer list to do some random rolls to pick a pair of winners. And I guess probably most people here own a Foundry license already, but if you don't, you can get Foundry VTT itself. And then if you do own Foundry, we'll of course give away a House Divided, which is the adventure we've been showing off today on the stream. So I'm just going to give maybe like 60 seconds for anyone who's not yet logged in to get logged into Twitch, and then I'll pull the viewer list, and we can set up a little roll table to do the giveaway. Kim, you can figure out something good for us to... What's a 60-second lightning round question for us to do while I wait for people to get...
Oh, yeah. I did get a good question I wanted to answer, actually. Is the particle generator computer demanding? I'd love to use it, but I don't want the program to crash. So maybe you probably know better. The fall tech that I just showed does spawn particles using the VFX system. It spawns about 5,000 for the dust, and that seemed fine. I didn't notice any hits. I guess both you and I have pretty beefy computers, so I know Pixie itself has like a batched particle generator thing. I don't know if we use that for the VFX framework or not. And
we do, like, yeah. We use something very similar, and so this is in fact critical to the particle generator's performance, is the fact that every particle is drawn as part of a batched rendering workflow. If the particles were not batched, it would in fact be quite bad for performance. So the batching of the particles in the particle generator is like a critical design principle for why it works so well with high particle counts. And yeah, so all of the particles are placed in a particle container, and those particles in the particle container are arranged in such a way that for a certain draw call of the canvas, we're able to draw all of the particles in a single pass with a single batched render. So it's similar to the way that the Pixie built-in particle works, but we've made some improvements on it that have some bespoke features that are better for Foundry. And so like our particle generator is similar to the Pixie particle generator, but we've kind of customized it and done some things in a little bit of a different way. But ultimately both approaches rely on that underlying batching heavily. And as far as like, can you use it without being, you know, worried about performance? This is the kind of thing that there isn't really a yes or no answer to, because it is very much like it depends on your hardware and your player's hardware. If everyone at your table is playing on a desktop, then you can go absolutely nuts, probably. If people at your table are playing on Chromebooks, you want to be more frugal. And, you know, it may require a little bit of experimentation to understand, like, what is, what's too much, what's too, what, you know, who's the, not to point fingers at whoever in the party is the, you know, has the biggest potato or whatever, but, like, who is the constraining factor in terms of how far you can push the visuals. It's also possible to, since particle generators are all rendered on the client side, different clients can have different intensities of particle generation that could be linked to the performance mode that someone is running, and that's something that we try and do in Ember a fair bit. So in Foundry, you can configure in your core settings, you can configure your performance mode, low, medium, high, maximum, and that's a per client setting. So when we say, oh, there's a particle generator here, the code that's responsible for orchestrating that particle generator can choose whether to make it like very high fidelity or medium fidelity or low fidelity. That, of course, requires a little bit more complexity on the side of whoever's implementing it to add those different, you know, configuration options. But that is possible if you want to design something that's more better for a range of client specs.
Something I'll keep in mind, yeah. Does maximum performance mode mean that it's high fidelity or low? By the way, it's labeled confusing. Maximum performance mode, yeah.
It's maximum fidelity. Yeah, that's the labeling is it's not performance. It's not that you're asking for low performance. You're asking for the performance mode. And so what you're choosing from is the fidelity of the experience. But yeah, I suppose I can see why that maybe is a little bit confusing.
Yeah. We got some testimonials in chat. Particle emitter with 100 instances of that emitter on a 10-year-old computer, only dropping to 50 FPS. That's pretty good.
It's been designed to be ultra performant. I mean, whether we achieve that or not, you know. But Kim, I've put a well, I guess I'll do the roll because I guess I'm showing my screen here. But yeah, I've created a roll table here. We've got 132 of you in chat, so pretty good odds. We'll do 2 winners today, and we'll hand out a Foundry VTT license key or a House Divided copy of House Divided if you don't have it. And if you win and you already have both of those things, I don't know, let me know. We can maybe figure something out. But all right, good luck, everybody. Drum roll, please.
Yeah.
And I'll go ahead and give 2 spins of the Wheel of Destiny. Got number 72, Meriden, and number 69, Lumenia.
Nice.
Certainly a name from chat that I recognize. I know Lumenia is here. Hopefully they're still here. Lumenia, again, yeah, Lumenia's been a reliable viewer and perhaps a reliable winner of our giveaways lately. But, you know, random is random. Random is random. Meriden. Is Meriden here?
Meriden. Unseen.
We might have a reroll.
I have a reroll. I don't see a comment from them.
Let's get Lyranth to come make a statue of Meriden and take Meriden off the board. Alright, going once, going twice. Gone! We draw again!
Gone, another reroll.
A Rusted Knight.
Rusted Knight.
Number 9. A Rusted Knight. If you are here, you are the lucky winner of a copy of A House Divided. I hope you both hope all of our winners have a great time experiencing it.
Oh.
We might have another reroll.
Might have another reroll.
He's
A
here.
Rusted Knight
We
says,
got him.
I'm here. A Rusted Knight, hello. You are the winner of our giveaway. If you would like to be a winner of either a copy of Foundry VTT, if you don't have a Foundry license, or a copy of A House Divided, our adventure, oh, heck yeah. All right, awesome. Yeah, just both of you can shoot us a DM here on Twitch, and we'll get you set up with your prize. So exciting stuff, and congratulations.
Nice.
And thank you
Well
to
done.
everyone else who has joined for the stream. Sorry that the others here are not the winner of our giveaway, but I hope some of you have maybe been persuaded to pick up House Divided. It would help our team. We'd be very grateful to you if you bought it. And now's the best time to do it because it is on sale right now. As part of our anniversary celebration and sale, House Divided is on sale, 20% off right now on the official marketplace. So if you are enticed by what you've seen today, there is no better time to get your hands on this adventure for yourself. And while the V14 levels stuff that we've been showing today is not yet released, it will be. And you don't have to buy the upgrade or anything. So if you own House Divided, you will get the V14 upgrade that has all of this levels stuff and all of these new features that we've been showing. You get that update for free. But yeah, now is a great time to pick up the adventure in anticipation of perhaps running it at some point in the future if you have any interest in doing that.
Yes, it will be coming out soon once we work out what we're going to do with these balconies.
Kim, which was the best combat encounter for your, the one that you thought was most memorable?
In House Divided, there was a couple of really good ones around the tree. The Tree of Woe has some good ones, and its counterpart in the Ruined Manor, I think, with the spiders.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the most memorable was the one that Mickey, she's in the chat, she drew, probably because it was the most memorable. I think it was it was a situation where I think Vaxilus had tried to betray the group, and half of the group had sort of wandered off back into the maze when he decided to spring his trap, and they very dramatically dimension doored straight back in.
Whoops!
Yeah. He thought he was going to get away with it, but no. He
Surprise,
was foiled.
motherfucker!
So that was a pretty good one. But I mean, obviously the final climactic, I won't spoil too much about it, but there's some cool effects going on. It's a very cool fight. Borderline unwinnable, I would say, if you play Darius particularly ruthlessly. And we have to update. That reminds me, we have to update the particle effects there as well.
Yeah, we should. Yeah, hopefully Ludovic has some time to help touch that up, or I can if not. But yeah, we should do that.
So I don't know how we are for time. There's a tiny little bit more before we finish. These guys have escaped to the ground.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead and let's go ahead.
Or we could just head back into the manor for a little bit and talk about the surfaces and stuff, or we bring it to a close. It's kind of, I'm not sure where we wanna go.
Up to you. Up to you, Kim. You are the tour
Oh,
director
right.
here. I got a bit more time. If there's something you want to touch on, let's hit it.
Yeah, let's pop back into the Shadewood, and if you bring up the Placeables tab and head over to regions. You can have a little bit of look about how this is sort of set up. So the first floor, it can be a bit, you can use the filter, I guess, to find it, but the first floor surface is just one big rectangle, as you might expect, and that sort of it defines the lowest level of the scene, so that scenes above it can understand where tokens are in relation to this particular surface. And then the more interesting one, if we go to the second floor, you can have a look at the second floor surface, which is kind of this cutout that you might expect, and it's pretty good. It covers
that
the
explains
balconies.
why I wasn't seeing the token on the dance floor. You need a hole for your.
I haven't cut it out.
You need a cutout.
Yeah. I think I did cut it out, but it might be because this build is a little bit further behind.
Yes.
The one I'm actively working on. This is like a snapshot. Yeah. So that was the problem there. So you can cut a hole out of that balcony, and then we'll see that people will immediately be visible. It's pretty easy to do. You just sort of double click that region to select it, go to draw a square, and then mark it as a hole.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that in fact, so that people can see that. But I'll have to unlock. I'll have to unlock the region, of course, so that it's editable.
It first.
And then I can use the region controls to toggle that I want this to be a hole, and then I'm gonna draw a rectangle, and we're going to. I guess I don't quite want to snap it.
You need to make sure you have that. Yeah. I think you got it.
I'm trying to see if I want to unsnap it or not, maybe, so it's a little bit more precise, but we'll see here.
Yeah, I think grid snapping works.
Yeah, I need to widen it just ever so slightly, but that's all right.
Oh yeah.
It's not quite exactly snapped, but I'll just widen.
And now we can see the dancers immediately.
Yeah, so now
all we had to do was
now we see,
that
of course,
hole.
the dancers as you would wish.
Totally planned.
Totally predictable.
Totally planned. So yeah, this is basically what the conversion entails. Narchy does the tiles, and he will cut out the transparency where you see it, and then you draw the surface on top, and that tells the engine, the VTT, the same thing basically. It kind of knows where the gaps are. Mm-hmm. And so the surface is like logical, and the tile itself, the image is like illustrative. It's the visual.
Yeah, and of course, for those of you with those, the tokens that have this little like triple stack pancake thing above their head, those are ones that are on a different level of the scene. So if you were to, like, if I'm looking at the second floor and I hover over them, you see like these are tokens that are on a different level. So if I click on one of these boneless dancers, it takes me to the first floor, which is where they actually are. And then I'm kind of looking up at the balcony rather than looking down at the first floor. So you can see how there's just like an asymmetric perspective a little bit, depending on whether you're, what is your current viewed level are you looking, that you're looking at.
I only noticed as we were going through that, whenever you switch between the levels, that there's a slight change in the token size as well.
That's a Kim special.
Yes.
It's a Kim special. I was like, oh, that's cool. Yeah.
I don't know if that. So that full disclaimer, that is to make the demo look better, because it looks a little bit strange when you plummet a token and they kind of just stay the same but are now prone. So I did that to make the demo a little bit more evocative. I don't know if it will end up in the system as like a proper thing that we do, because it can potentially be disruptive in certain places. You maybe don't want it, so I don't know. But it's some demo stuff, but yeah, it definitely. Yeah, good eye for catching that.
That was the best part. You have to keep it in.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe if you can turn it off, then maybe it's fine, right? People can just turn it off if they don't like it. There was just a question from Varus about multi-level surfaces, something like a 3-story tower with courtyard level 1 and 3 visible to each other, but not level 2. So yeah, you can configure that in the maybe Andrew can demo. If you like right-click one of the levels and choose edit, you can actually configure the visibility exactly. So you can set up that exactly. So you can say, the first floor can see the third floor, and the third floor can see the first floor, and the second floor can only see nothing, only itself, for example. And the surfaces themselves also, you put them in the regions that in the levels that they apply to. For various.
Someone in chat was asking, like, what is the opposite? Lumenia was asking, what does the opposite look like when you're someone on the floor looking up at the balcony? So here, for example, Perrin is on the first floor dancing, and then Vivesna is watching on from above on the second floor. So yeah, you would have kind of that two-way, well, potentially two-way visibility depending on some other properties of the environment. Like the west side balcony is a little bit tricky because it actually is like over top of a secret passageway that like there has to be a wall here on the first floor because the first floor passage like that needs to be blocked off. So that's the kind of thing that, like, if we knew what we know now about how levels works, and like we might have designed this particular piece of the map slightly differently in terms of like how big that balcony is or something. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, aside, like, if Vivesna is, if she's sort of perched on the lip of the balcony, then you can still have it work. It's just, a little bit more awkward, maybe, on the west side. But
yeah, I forgot about that. Maybe there's something I can do. I'll have a look. I didn't notice that before.
But generally,
Yes,
though,
I
I mean,
it's
generally quite good in terms of how it works, in terms of ease of seeing that there's a character up on the balcony above you. Kind of works as advertised. And of course, I only see that token if I'm looking at the scene, from a vantage point that would see it, because otherwise she's culled by a surface, I suppose. I'm actually not entirely sure why.
Yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't see it. It's possible I've set up the surfaces as well slightly wrongly, but that's fine. We'll do like a QA pass. I'll get Ava to.
We're certainly giving a demo of something that is like very much still a work in progress. Like we are in the midst of doing this construction rather than it being something that is completely already done.
Yeah, that's right. So this will be coming out a bit later. Fully done, all the levels, and it should be in better shape. Okay, I think we will. As the more you wanted to show, we'll head back to the grounds to bring this little mini adventure to a close.
You can see, before you pull me, Kim, I'm just sort of showing like how even just on one level of the scene, like how many different regions there are. Like there's quite a few for different things, different regions for different purposes. And the region concept is very powerful and very essential for for how the functionality of Foundry works in this kind of 2.5D situation, because without regions to define those planes in the elevation dimension, we would we wouldn't be able to do any of this. So the regions are the essential ingredient that empowers the way that levels then can work in all its glory.
Okay. Let's put the over-tuning grounds. Okay. Right. So, the party are out sprinting across the manor grounds, making for a planar transit point, a tear in the world tuned to the Feywood Manor, an autumnal counterpart of the Shadewood, where the family's endless revels never quite ended. The adventure itself ships with many helpful macros to manage certain quest outcomes. So, for example, here, if the party have helped Mr. Timnus in the Home Sweet Home quest, then the autumnal gate will be active.
The autumnal gate.
So they reach it, step through, and the Shadewood falls away behind them. I think you probably have to make the transition.
Oh, I will. Okay, so Xana's the last one to run through. Is it a region I step into, or what is the secret sauce?
Is it not activated? Yeah, it's a region. It might not be enabled. The macro is supposed to enable it. It's fine. Let me find it.
I was playing with the region, so I might have done something to sabotage your demo.
There you go.
Okay.
Should be good now.
Aha! I've fallen into the portal. I'm whisked away to parts unknown. Oh, where am I? This is very strange. This is different. This is your cue to change the music.
Oh.
I
didn't have this.
I need autumnal vibes. The Midnight
I don't know,
Gate.
is this the one?
Yeah, that sounds right. The mysteries of the Feywild await. Yeah, this is going to be interesting. What else would you like me to show about the? Do I go back through the Midnight Gate?
No, that's it. That's just a little teaser of what's waiting for you in the Feywood. I don't know if it's enabled. You can try.
Whee! I know what I'm doing for the next hour.
So that's another V14 feature, I think, the scene transitions. So those are enabled as well in the module. I spent some time going through and making sure we had those set up.
We do a George Lucas style screen wipe. Is that...
Yes, we have it. I don't know what it's called. I think it might be called Wipe or something.
Yeah.
It might be called Wipe. Yeah. I mean, I guess I can mess with this scene. It doesn't matter because it's not the main one. Miscellaneous.
Let me just. I'm just gonna give folks in chat a little tour. Of a few. I don't know, Kim, if these scenes are set up or if I'm gonna reveal something that is in mid construction, but yeah, just some of the beautiful. Some of the beautiful environments of the Feywood Manor.
On this build, I think Feywood is done for levels and surfaces and everything. It's just not done for tiles. I did the tiles today, and they're not. On
I
this
don't think
build,
anyone will.
But I think everything else should be good to go.
To hold us too much to account, given that we're in the midst of redeveloping. But yeah, the fact that the three different manors are similar in some key ways, but also meaningfully different in some key ways, and so there's like very different tone and very different vibes and very different types of encounters that you would find within them. And yeah, the Feyward Manor is it's a chaotic mess, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's also like a little creepy in a way
little.
that I really liked. It's very unsettling because like on the surface it's very jovial and everyone's having a good time, but yeah, obviously the ravenous horde is it's very unsettling. It's just like a little bit, like how someone has a smile plastered on their face that doesn't quite reach their eyes. It's like a little bit of like almost like a fake jovialness. I don't know. I liked it a lot. Yeah.
I love the fable reading room that Shane added to the theater here. That's so fun.
Yeah, so all the levels here should be working, I think.
Yeah, they're looking great.
Yeah.
Should
be good.
Fully connected for sure. It looks like there's still maybe a little bit to do with maybe some surfaces or something, but yeah, I mean, I think
I think
looking very, very good. Yeah, like seeing all the way down to the library in this like common room west corner with the little secret door and the broken balcony, like looking straight down onto like Woodfellow down in the library. That's like very, very satisfying. Very satisfying. And of course that's like a real moving token that like would be moving around within the scene. Like Kim, if you come to the first floor and like if you take our friend Woodfellow here and if you move him around just slightly, like I'm up on the attic and I'm seeing all the way down to what's happening at the ground where something else is happening at a different level of the scene. And so like the fact that isn't just like a pre-rendered snapshot or anything of what's below you, but it is like the sort of real-time rendered version of what's far below is definitely like really satisfying and very, very cool.
And I think we've already spoken about certain scenes where parts of the building collapse.
Yeah,
so
collapsing.
The balcony collapses
collapsing bits
from the second floor, and then it appears on the ground floor, and it's you can do all these things.
Yeah, definitely like Oblivion, Shivering Oblivion, Shivering Isles vibes. There's a bit of that here. I actually played that again recently for the first time in, I don't know, probably 20 years or something, however long it's been, because I played the Oblivion remaster, and so
play the remaster.
Yeah, and so I replayed all the Shivering Isles stuff recently. So it's a good call, good shout on that.
So that is actually that brings us to a close. Then our adventurers have stumbled into the Feywild after having made an enemy of Vivesna, and they have to now navigate the complex web of relationships about the Feyward Manor as well. Quite a lot, quite different to the Shadewood, but in some ways similar too. And then you have the revel, which is just horrifying, just really horrifying.
People keep asking why you can't gain.
Out, it looks amazing. But...
People keep asking why you can't gain approval with the revel, and I feel like
that's on par with like going like a level of bad idea that's on par with going with Lirant's masterpiece. I think it's just serious. Make better decisions, please. What were you saying, Narchy?
Oh, I was just saying this map in particular, if you're zoomed out, you're like, oh, it looks so friendly and quaint.
Yes.
And then you zoom in, and you're like, oh no, all these people are just
nope
up to something a little bit disturbing.
Hard nope. Yeah.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Yeah, the zoom in is, oh. And then you get the description of what Red's doing in the kitchen. Oh, it's so gross. Yeah.
Well,
So
it is a
anyway,
horror
House Divide's pretty good.
adventure, but it's not like
Yes.
gratuitous, but or I don't know, maybe it is, but it's horrific. It's horrific stuff. Yeah, for sure. Intentionally.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Very good. Very good. Very memorable adventure. Holds up very well.
Well, thank you, Kim,
This
for
day.
being such a wonderful tour guide with this little overview. And I appreciate everyone hanging out with us in chat, and I hope you've all liked what you've seen. And yeah, we're going to keep working on making this adventure even better as we go. It's, like I said earlier, it's one that we want to keep evergreen as always part of our portfolio of stuff that we've made. It's something we're proud of. And yeah, like I said earlier, I hope it's something that everyone can have a chance to play at some point. I think it's really worth it, and it's a lot of fun. And yeah, if you do have a House Divided story to share, urge you to share it with us in Discord. Give us your reviews or your reactions, your highlights, your lowlights. Always eager to hear from people who've played the adventure, how it went for them, and what they've experienced with it.
Yeah, let us know. Thanks everyone for your time. I appreciate it. Thanks everyone for your little developer insights as well into the making of the module.
Of course, yeah. Thank you so much, and Kim, great work leading the tour, and I think we can wrap it up here for today. But for those of you out in Chatland, just a quick reminder of what we have yet to come for our anniversary festivities, perhaps. Let me pull up the schedule and just give you a quick reminder of what's going on. So today was our House Divided showcase stream. Tomorrow, all day, we have a Reddit AMA with the team. Everyone will be hanging out on our our unofficial subreddit, our community subreddit, answering any sort of questions that people have about House Divided, Ember, Crucible, VTT itself, the weather, Arsenal, and how they're glorious Premier League champions after 22 years.
You couldn't resist.
Sorry,
was that every stream so far?
I have to get that in somewhere. And then Ember on Thursday, Kaora will be doing a lore and setting showcase for the Ember setting. Should be a wonderful watch, very informative. Friday is going to be a lot of fun. It's our team Free Project Friday. We've all got demos to share of things we've been cooking up in our respective mad science laboratories, and I really look forward to seeing what everyone's been working on Friday. On Saturday, we've got another video in Matt's Learning Foundry VTT tutorial series. The second video dropped yesterday, if you haven't had a chance to see it yet. And then on Sunday, to close out Anniversary Week, I'll be back here on Twitch doing an Ember gameplay showcase, looking at kind of like we did today for House Divided, with sort of like a speed run simulation through a House Divided quest. I'm going to do a little sort of speed run simulation through parts of an Ember quest and talk about how the event flow works in Ember and how the exploration and discovery systems work. And I'll do it in Crucible, so you get a little bit more look at Crucible along the way. And so, yeah, I'm really looking forward to that this coming Sunday. So really amazing set of events coming up. And of course, all throughout, we've got our sale going on for Foundry licenses and for premium content on our marketplace. So there's so much to celebrate with us about for this period, and lots going on. And so, yeah, thank you all for being part of it. And I hope to see you here for some future events in the rest of the week to come.
Which quest is it?
I haven't decided for sure yet, but I think I'm maybe going to do Glitter in the Dark. Chapter 2 side quest, Arcturel.
Should be a good one. Yeah.
I don't know. I might change my mind, though. We'll see. All right, everyone. happy gaming. Hope to see you around. Thank you very much for being here. Kim, thank you again. Narchy, thank you very much for joining and sharing your insights and for your wonderful map work in making this House Divided update possible. And until next time, farewell from us, and we'll see you again soon.
Yeah, take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.